So, fairly recently, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, died. And one of my friends here in Pullman, Carolyn, she sent me a message and she wondered if I was going to do a cocktail and muse on the royal family a little bit. And well, yes, actually, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I will be honest, I'm not much of a monarchist, and my immediate reaction to that message was, well, yes, of course, there's not enough bridges and pikes for them, off with their heads. But then I got to thinking a bit. I read a couple of interesting articles, in newspapers, and I started thinking that, despite the fact I don't really like titles, I left Britain and I don't like sirs and lords and ladies. I don't like Mr. and Mrs. and Mrs. and Doctor. I mean, I could go by Doctor, but then someone calls me Dr. Elgar. I say, well, no, just call me Richard. That's I actually prefer that. That's my name. I always say, well, I didn't leave class-ridden Britain just to use those titles anymore. But then one of the reasons is it's all that inherited wealth. They do so well out of it, and live a life of luxury. When you read what the Queen Mother used to drink every day, champagne and Dubonnet and gin, and have racehorses and all the rest. It seems like the life of Riley, really, doesn't it? Although, maybe not Riley, given the long and troublesome and problematic history with Ireland. But still, that was mostly what was going through my head. But then I realised that actually, lots of people have loads of money, and not all of them kind of dedicate their lives to public service. And much though, as I've mentioned, I don't like all that inherited wealth. They do some decent things. They represent a country in far better way than many of our elected leaders have ever done. They seem to be unfailingly polite, rather conservative, that's for sure. But they're opening things all the time. They're being part of our country and represents us. So actually, in the end, it turns out, it's not a good idea to speak ill of the dead, admittedly. Although when Margaret Thatcher died, I did sing "Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead," and I do not regret that for a second. Anyway, so I decided to research a cocktail, and what I'm coming up with is actually a modified Beggar's Banquet, which is in fact a glorified Boilermaker, in that it is a beer and whiskey cocktail. And I chose my ingredients quite carefully. It turns out Prince Philip, his favourite drink was actually Boddington's, a British beer. It used to be made in Manchester. I think it's moved somewhere else now. So I thought, and it gives me the title for the drink, which is Prince Philip's Boddy. And it's, I've mentioned, it's a Boilermaker type drink, and so it's with whiskey. And I did happen to have some Glenkinchie in, and Glenkinchie is possibly the closest, I think it may be the closest malt whiskey distillery to Edinburgh. It's in East Lothian, certainly, and they call it the Edinburgh malt, so that will do. And he was the Duke of Edinburgh, so that seems to be a really good choice of whiskey. And we are going to put in 1.5 ounces of that. But this is a little more sophisticated than just whiskey and beer, actually. First of all, I'm going to put in some demerara sugar to sort of balance out the whiskey a little bit, and we need 3/4 of an ounce of that. Demerara sugar, of course, is just 50-50 demerara syrup, just 50-50 demerara sugar with water brought to a boil and then allowed to cool. So 3/4 of an ounce of that, and then again, I'm balanced now. This is a fairly freshish sort of cocktail, kind of bright, and I'm putting in some freshly squeezed lemon juice, but I don't want too much of it. I don't want it to be too sour in there. So I'm putting in 1/4 of an ounce of freshly squeezed lemon juice. Then the final ingredients before the beer is some bitters. And one of my, he was an irascible old curmudgeon, actually, and he really spoke his mind, and sometimes really embarrassingly, but funny time was in Belize, I think it was, and he was on the Royal Yacht Britannia, and he wanted the Queen to stop talking to the hosts in Belize, so he shouted out from the yacht, and it's not just a regular huge boat, right? Shouted out, "Yak, yak, yak, come on, get a move on." And so I decided that rhubarb bitters was the perfect sort of extra dormant. You just need a dash of that in there like so. And then finally, this is his drink, Boddington's Pub Ale, imported from Britain with a little widget in it so it gets nice and frothy, and that's really good for this drink. As you'll see as I pour this into this glass, and I put about 5 ice cubes in here earlier on, 5 or 6, okay, don't tell me you can't put ice in beer, because of course you can. This is a cocktail. Anyway, I'm going to just Pour that in there, which just mixes it all up. And I don't know if you can see as the beer is settling, much in the way a Guinness does, it's settling throughout the drink. We're just going to give that a stir. And it does look very, very nice. One garnish, which is a simple slice of orange. That one's too small. Let me do a slightly more significant one like that. That just proves it's a cocktail, either that or it's just a Belgian beer or something, or whatever. I don't know what it is, but there we go. And let's see what we've got. Oh yeah. Cheers, Your Highness.